Hey everyone, welcome back. Now in the last section we talked a lot about components, and while doing this we were also using other directives and we were already using data binding. Nonetheless, now is a section where we go into detail what data binding actually is and how we can bind data in Angular 2. Now what is it? It basically refers to everything which reacts to changes in the DOM or which changes our DOM. So basically everything which gives our user a visual output, so to see, or handles input from the user. So interaction with the user, you could put it that way. That is data binding. Now in Angular 2, we got 4 forms of data binding. You got string interpolation, that were those curly braces if you remember that. So those curly braces where we had a property or an expression within it that returns a string or something which can be converted to a string and is then output to the screen. The next thing is property binding. Now property binding were our directives when we either used our squared brackets or basically whenever something flows into an element. So the opposite of the event binding, so to say, which is our third way of data binding. So second way, property binding, something flows into an element, something gets changed in that element, some value gets updated. So either through a directive we are using or through what we will see in this section, passing a value to a custom component of us, also through property binding, but I'll get to this. Third thing, as I said, or third version of data binding is event binding with the parentheses. We're reacting to something. We're getting something out of our element, right? So that is the third version. Now the fourth version is something which was the default in Angular 1, two-way data binding. In Angular 2, the general flow of data is unidirectional. That means it only flows in one direction, not in both at the same time, only one direction. Now this has the advantage of increasing performance and making it easier to debug, which were two issues especially for larger applications with Angular 1. So therefore, two-way binding is no longer the default in Angular 2, but it still exists as a fourth and separate version of data binding. Now in this section we will have a detailed look at all 4 data binding possibilities we got and how to apply them correctly. Also, we will create our custom components and use data binding to pass data between components created by us, and also to create custom events so that we can react in one component when something changes in another component. Finally, we're going to round this section up with a complete project where we will use all the knowledge we gathered throughout the section. See you in the videos. Bye!